Hey everybody, welcome back to Whiteboard Finance. My name is Marco and I'm here to help you master your money and build your wealth. In today's video, we're going to be talking about 5 reasons why I love the Roth IRA and why Roth IRAs rock. So a Roth IRA is an investment vehicle that everybody should be taking advantage of if you're able to. It's basically a retirement account that can be utilized for much more than that if needed. So in this video, we're going to talk about 5 reasons why I love the Roth IRA. But before that, I'm going to very quickly talk about what a Roth IRA even is and give you a brief summary if you're not familiar. Let's get into it. Okay, so what is a Roth IRA? So let's break down those two terms. Roth simply means after tax. So we have Roth and then we have IRA. So what does IRA stand for? That simply stands for Individual Retirement Account, okay? So let's say, for example, you make 52 grand a year. You're supposed to make $1,000 a week gross. You're obviously not netting that. That is not your take-home income. So you have $1,000 a week, but you receive net income. That net income is what you're using to invest in the Roth IRA, okay? So a Roth IRA is simply just a retirement account where you take your net income and invest in different assets. So what can those things be? So if this was a self-directed Roth IRA, you can invest in a lot of things. Since we're talking about a traditional one in this sense, without confusing you any further, let's just pretend the Roth IRA is an investment vehicle. So this is an empty car, okay? Beautiful car. However, the things that you put inside of the car, okay, let's just pretend these are different stocks, bonds, ETFs, mutual funds, things like that. The vehicle is what allows these investments to grow tax and penalty free upon age 59 and a half, okay? So you're allowed to contribute in 2020 $6,000 a year into these different investments going into the Roth IRA. And if you're 50 and older, you can actually contribute $1,000 more, okay? Allowing you to invest $7,000 a year. So at age 59 and a half, whatever is inside this vehicle, inside the Roth IRA, you can take out tax and penalty free because you've already paid taxes on the money that went into investing in these things, okay? The nice thing about this is that Roth IRAs have wide availability. They are available pretty much anywhere, whether it's a physical brokerage, let's call it Fidelity, they have physical retail stores, or if you want to go with an online broker, there's options there as well. If you want to go with like an M1 Finance, for example, and open up a Roth with them, it's super simple to invest using M1. This is not a sponsored video by M1, but I actually created a free training down below if you want to check that out. So this is basically a Roth IRA in a nutshell. Let's get into the 5 reasons why I love them. Okay, so reason number 1 why I love the Roth IRA is because of the tax-free growth. Since you're making after-tax contributions, the money is growing tax-free in that vehicle, as in the previous slide that we mentioned. So whatever is in that account, whenever you decide to take it out, is yours, okay? At 59 and a half, you can take out everything all at once if you want to. No taxes, no penalties. Before 59 and a half, you can actually take out the contribution without any penalties because that's after-tax money that you've already put in. I'll get more into that later in this video. So let's give you a quick example of how powerful this could be, especially for a younger person. Say you have a starting balance of 0 and you just open this account up. You go to You watch my training, you say, hey, M1 Finance is awesome, let me open up my Roth. I'm 25, I'm starting at $0. If you contribute $6,000 a year, making 7% ROI, which is very feasible over the last 30, 40, 50 years in the market. At age 65, you will have $1.2 million. It's actually $1,197,811. Now, this is the beauty of the Roth. If you're at a 25% marginal tax rate, that $1.2 million is actually only $770,577. So look at that. That's basically a difference of $400,000 of savings. So this was actually able to grow tax-free, again, because it's in the Roth IRA, and that entire amount is yours at age 59 and a half. Okay, so reason number 3 why I love the Roth IRA is because your contribution withdrawals are tax and penalty free. Yes, you heard that right. Even before the age of 59 and a half, you can take out whatever you contributed penalty-free and tax-free at any time. So say, for example, you've been putting in $6 grand for 10 years. you're sitting at $60,000 in contributions, and that grows to $100,000 because the investments in that vehicle are doing well, you can take out this 60 grand at any time and use it for a house purchase, an emergency. It's almost like a hybrid or a savings account at that point, and it's not just a retirement account where your money is locked in until 59 and a half or 62 or so on and so forth. So the reason I like this is because it turns your Roth into a hybrid emergency fund. Even though I wouldn't use it as that, you still need to focus on using it as a retirement account, but there is flexibility there, which is the good thing. So use it if needed. There are some caveats. So if you're with the earnings portion, not the contributions portion, so you can actually take out the earnings before 59 and a half if the account is less than 5 years old, but that's going to avoid the penalties but not the taxes. Okay, so the taxes will be implemented on those earnings. If you want to do this and the account is 5 years or older on the earnings, you can take those out and you're going to avoid both. Okay, so the account needs to be 5 years older and you can actually tap into this 100,000 portion, for example. There are some caveats. It needs to be used for a first-time home purchase or education expenses or disabilities. There's a lot of caveats which I'm not going to touch on in this video, but just know that your contributions, the 60 grand for example, you can take out penalty and tax-free at any time. Okay, so reason number 4 why I love the Roth IRA is because there are no required minimum distributions. So a lot of people don't even know about this. If you're investing in a traditional IRA, you have required minimum distributions at age 72. So this actually requires you to start withdrawing from your account a minimum amount per year, okay? The reason for this is because the government doesn't want that money compounding so much until you pass away. They may actually end up giving you a huge tax benefit there. However, with the Roth IRA, you don't have to do this. If you actually forget to take out these required minimum distributions in the traditional IRA, you could get hit with a 50% excise tax on that money, which is huge. So in the Roth, you can actually keep your money in there until you're alive. So say, for example, you live until you're 120 years old. This gives you massive time to compound that money, and then you can pass it on to your heirs very easily using a Roth, okay? They're probably hoping that you die to get the money. But that's a topic. I'm not an estate planner, okay? That's a conversation for a different topic. But basically, the beauty of this is if you take your example of that $1.2 million that we used earlier, growing it from 25 to 65, you can actually compound that for all those years if you do indeed live to 120. I mean, that's a far-fetched example. I'm just using that to prove a point, but that allows for massive compounding, and that is a huge benefit. Okay, so number 5 is the future tax hedge. So this is not guaranteed, but this is just the way that my brain thinks, and this is more, I don't have a crystal ball, it's my opinion, but this is still fact, okay? So given the political climate of the United States, we may see increased taxes at some point. So let's use the example of you being 25 years old in 2020. Who knows what the country is going to look like 40 years from now when you do indeed turn 65. Taxes could be 99%. No one knows. So the beauty of the Roth is that you don't have any, it's basically a future tax hedge. The money is still yours without any taxes being taken out. Obviously, government can change legislation and policy and all that stuff, yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, we're just assuming that all things are constant at this point. So say, for example, you do see that tax hike to 99%. What do you do if you're in a traditional IRA or a 401k? When you go to take out those withdrawals, you're going to get hit with a crazy amount of taxes. So again, the other benefit of the Roth IRA is that that money is still yours, and it could be a future tax hedge if needed. So even if taxes don't change, or say taxes are even lowered in the future, it doesn't matter because that money is still yours at a 0% tax rate. Okay, so to recap everything and wrap up my thoughts, basically the beauty of the Roth IRA in general and why I love it and recommend it to a lot of people is because it is a hybrid account. So yes, it is an individual retirement account and that's what it's designed for and that's what you should use it for, but it's a great way to create a hybrid emergency, retirement, and savings account if you, heaven forbid, have to tap into those funds in case an emergency happens or if you want to use it for a first-time home purchase. The Roth IRA is a great way to kind of create that hybrid account. Number 2 is that it forces you to play the long game. So when you look at all the calculations and the compounding and the beauty of the tax-free growth, it almost forces you to become a disciplined investor as opposed to just picking individual growth stocks looking at it every single day and refreshing your Robinhood and all that. This actually forces you just to get into solid blue chip investments and watch it grow over time tax-free. And then finally, if you do want to start a Roth IRA, you can do that with M1 Finance. You can do it with pretty much anyone. However, I use M1 Finance because of the pie structure, and it's very simple for a long-term investment such as a Roth IRA. So again, I actually created a free training, no strings attached. You basically just put in your email and you get a private YouTube link to that video. So hopefully you got value out of this video. As always, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button with the bell to receive notifications, and share this video on Facebook, share it on Twitter, share it on social media. It takes me a lot of time and effort to make these videos, and I do them for free, just trying to put immense value with no fluff into the universe. Thank you so much for watching, and have a prosperous day. So do I hope Grandma dies, or do I hope Grandma lives? The interest is compounding. Ooh, but I want that new Tesla. What do I want?